Greetings once again, my friends, and welcome back to Drak Reviews. And this one, guys, has been a hard one. Around the time that this game came out, I was playing Horizon, and Horizon was amazing, and it was everything that I could have asked for without even asking for it. And I was excited for this, but when I played it, I started having a reaction that was against what my fellow YouTubers, my fellow reviewers were having, and that's why it became hard. It's because every time I would sit down and play it, I would have the same issues, and it felt wrong to have them. So welcome to my review of Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild. I want to preface this by saying I am a Zelda fan, through and through. I have enjoyed a majority of the Zelda series. I have a couple of outliers that I don't like, that I've gotten into numerous debates with podcast panelists, with YouTubers, and all of them many a time. In particular, Majora's Mask. I don't know how many discussions I've had on the matter where I've just been told I didn't give that game a chance. Skyward Sword. I've had plenty of debates where I'm either not willing enough to acknowledge its faults, or I am overly praising it. I've gone both sides on Skyward Sword. But in particular, Majora's Mask, I'm not a fan of that. Twilight Princess, I've slowly become less of a fan of that particular game. The original Legend of Zelda I enjoy, but I don't enjoy Adventure of Link. And this is all, what I'm trying to basically say here is it's completely fine to not like a particular entry into a series. And the main reason I bring this up is because now I'm going to have everybody jumping down my throat. Let's go and get things started. The story is very simple for Legend of Zelda. You wake up into a new world, one where you've lost your memory, and you don't necessarily know what has happened to Hyrule until much later when it gets explained to you. And then you get sent on your quest to take down Ganon, who has technically already taken down Hyrule, aside from, the final blow, and has been stopped from that point. So your goal is to turn things around so he can't do the final blow, as well as be able to save Hyrule, as it is always in a Zelda game. There isn't really a whole lot that I can add to the story here that hasn't been done in a Zelda game before. You're Link, you're here to save Zelda from Ganon, maybe even the Triforce, all that fun stuff. It's all there, and it's great. But I have, so before I go any further, I should probably point out, I've played a good distance into this game. I haven't beaten it. And one of the main reasons I haven't beaten it is because I'm savoring it. I'm really trying to get all the enjoyment that I can possibly get out of it. I'm even, dare say, completing it because I want to be able to get a lot of perks in the game. And so I've taken my time with it, but I've played a decent amount of hours into it. So if I don't get every story aspect right, then that's basically why. I haven't seen the story through to completion. But, I mean, honestly, this is actually one of those Zelda games where story matters. I'm going to say it matters a little bit, but it's not necessarily the focus. So with story, I have no problem with it. I gave it full marks on the matter, because the story still keeps me engaged when I actually do come across those segments. But since it's not necessarily a cornerstone of this game, it's not necessarily needed. Visually, I don't have any complaints with it. It looks really, really good. I like the fact that we have a lot of sci-fi elements introduced into Zelda for the first time ever. What appears to be magic is more technology than anything else. I like that aesthetic. I like the fact that they did that. I also like the fact that it's kind of a... I don't know if I could even use this word, but the only thing that comes to my mind is a post-apocalyptic Zelda. Not in the case of like a zombie invasion or anything like that, but, this cataclysm was about to happen and the countryside was ruined. It's just not everything was ruined. I like that idea. I like the fact that years have passed. And so at that point, visually, this game is stunning, as most Zelda games are. It's, one of those things where we kind of come to expect that. And before the Wind Waker people come out, because I know you guys are coming, that game was stunning too. Even though it was cel shaded, and I know a lot of people don't like Zelda, I was unfortunately one of them for a while. It's not, again, we expect a high caliber of visuals and animation and all that, so it's not unexpected from Nintendo to take these things and polish them. So again, high marks for visuals. Gameplay. This is where I begin to falter. And again, I've had arguments left and right over my viewpoint on the matter, and I've been told I'm not giving the game a chance. I've been told that maybe since I played Horizon, it colored my judgment a little bit. I don't know. Well, I do know, but I'm skimming here because I don't want to admit, I don't want to have this and have even more problems, but gameplay has some falterings for me, and I didn't give it full commendation on it. One in particular thing that bothers me immensely is the fact that there technically, and I'm not getting into that debate, people, there technically are no dungeons in this game. I'm going to let that sink in. There technically are no dungeons. There are no temples or anything like that. But Drak, what about the divine beasts? The divine beasts are roughly long enough to be a section of a dungeon. I've done enough to be able to know that they are long enough to be a section, not an entire dungeon. But Drak, what about the shrines? The shrines would be a room in a dungeon. They are one puzzle to be solved. And in some cases, that puzzle has 2 or 3 tiers to be able to go and do it. Now, am I saying the divine beasts and the shrines are bad? No. I like them. But it bothers me that this is pretty much the equivalent of what we get for a dungeon. If there are more, you guys can let me know. But as far as I'm aware of, there are divine beasts and there are shrines. And those are supposed to be the dungeons of the game. And I wanted a full-on dungeon, damn it. I wanted a wind temple, an earth temple, an ice temple, whatever you want to throw at me. And instead I got basically a fraction of that. And yeah, that bothers me a little bit because that's what I enjoy in Zelda. I enjoy going into a dungeon and being able to solve the puzzles and give myself that extra shot in the arm for doing so. And unfortunately, this game, it does give you that, but it gives you a much smaller dose. 80% of the gameplay here is based on world exploration. And that is fun. I'm not saying that it isn't, but eventually, at some point, I just want to go and, I don't want to explore the world. I want to go fight demons, and I want to be able to go take on Ganon, and I want to be able to go unlock the Master Sword, and I want to be able to get cool weapons. And you still can do it, but it isn't the same. I'm not saying it's bad, but to me, that was a frustration. Just as much as it was with Skyward Sword. I actually got frustrated with Skyward Sword because dungeons were too short. I remember back in Wind Waker, Ocarina of Time, where we would have these longer dungeons, and they were so satisfying to go through. And with Skyward Sword, I'd get like half the satisfaction for it. Twilight Princess didn't have this issue, but Skyward Sword definitely did. And this one has it even worse. So that is bothersome to me. The other thing that kind of bothers me on the matter is that we got told numerous times it is your option whether or not you want to take on particular tasks. Except sometimes those tasks are necessary. And we just didn't want to be honest about it. In particular, the cooking. But Drak, how could you not like making the food? Okay, that's not my problem with it. I enjoy the cooking and I like the buffs that come from it. But here's the problem. The buffs. Early on in the game, when you do the first couple of shrines, it becomes very apparent that if you want to be able to do them, you need to get used to doing the cooking and the hunting and all of that stuff. And if you don't, you will put yourself at a very serious disadvantage compared to other players. I don't know how many people I actually talked to where they basically said, oh, well, quit your biatching about the cooking, just go and do it. But what if I don't want to do it? I should be able to go through this world the way that I choose, correct? Well, unfortunately, this game is forcing me into what I consider to be a side quest that I don't have to do, but yet I do. And I do, that bothers me. That legitimately bugs me. I have no problem with armor or stamina or any of those other things, but cooking for a while there was advertised as something that you didn't have to do, and then eventually they brought in the buffs and made it essential to do. You have to be able to go and get food that gives you attack buffs, defense buffs, extra hearts, everything like that. Otherwise, you're just going to have your butt handed to you, and that's on you. But that's also not fun for somebody who doesn't want to go and do that. So I'm not saying that these are bad systems by any stretch, but I just wouldn't call them choice. I would say these are essential, and they should have been treated as essential from the get-go. And I'm not saying in the game, I'm saying from advertisement. And I just don't feel that they are. I even went back and watched early advertisements for Breath of the Wild, and everything was, do things as you want to do them. Well, I can already tell you guys I can't do that. Because if I could be in my own ideal world, I'd go and get the Master Sword and kill Ganon right now. Oh, wait, you need like 13 hearts to do that. Okay, then I don't have that choice now, do I? So I'm not nitpicking here, but I did take points off because, again, it's the illusion of choice, not necessarily actual choice. My choice is that I want to be able to go out and do legit dungeons and get hook shots and bombs and all that, and I didn't get that. So leave in the comment if you don't agree with it. I'm perfectly fine with you disagreeing. This is my viewpoint, and it actually bugs me that, you know, this is not the Zelda game that I wanted to play to that extent. I do enjoy aspects of Breath of the Wild, but the things that I enjoy the most about Zelda, they're not here. Another thing that bugged me was audio. Music, brilliant. There are tracks in there that I absolutely love and have on my iPod and all that fun stuff. Well, not on my iPod, but I have tracks on my PC. So, I do enjoy the music. However, the one thing that bugs me is the implementation for the first time from Nintendo of a voice cast. Now, by that I mean nothing like ha 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 ha. I mean actual Link, it's so good to see you. Here's my problem with it. And I said this also in the check-in. So this is a problem that has continued on, and it still bugs me to this day. Nintendo, I love you dearly. If you're gonna do voice acting, just do the voice acting. I'm not saying every stinking thing needs to be voiced over, but the cutscenes at least should be. And there were a few cutscenes in there where all of a sudden you had voice for like a minute, and then you go through 3 minutes of dialogue where there's none. That's dumb. Especially when you give us such an incredible illusion that you're going to do this with the first cutscene that you get in the game from the king, saying exactly what's happened to Hyrule, and then we start having that problem as we get into the game. The deeper we get in, the more the problem starts to surface. And I just would have preferred that you not voiced it. If I have to read it on my own, that's fine. But I'd rather not have you go out and pay a voice cast if you're not going to pay them to, you know, do their job 100% of the time in this game. And there are a lot of moments where the voiceover would have helped the scene even more to help the immersion. And it hurts it. Because eventually you have the immersion wrecked by hitting whiplash, or by getting whiplash, from the fact that, oh, they're not talking anymore. They're doing the ha 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 ha. And that's bothersome to me. So I did take points off for audio. Replayability and presentation. Despite its shortcomings, there is replayability and there is a presentation here. Replayability is go out and discover the world, and it's there in spades. I've gone out of my way numerous times for shrines just to be able to go and do them. I've gone out of my way to go and get armor sets, to collect rubies for said armor sets, or to even experiment with the cooking that, even though I wasn't happy about the fact that you made me get into it, I still did. And I actually found some really cool recipes that were enjoyable to be able to go make, or to go hunt down. So there is replayability there, even for people who don't necessarily like everything about Breath of the Wild. Presentation, does it all come together? Yes, it does, but I did take a little bit off here because, again, you hurt those immersion elements, and it doesn't hurt the experience overall for you, aside from that it basically slams on the brakes when you're expecting something. And that's a frustration to me. Like, if I'm in this fully immersed cutscene of long ago, there was an ancient prophecy, and then all of a sudden fade out and go back in, that does hurt the immersion. It goes, and then my head jostles, and it just, what? Why am I not getting a voice here? It's a little annoying. So I did actually take it down for that. But overall, I cannot say that this is a bad game to anybody. I have elements that I hate about it, or that I think could have been improved better, but that's my opinion. And strictly, I mean, that's what basically my reviews have always been. I am scoring them, but it is still my opinion, and you can have whatever it is you want to have. Which is why I have no problem giving Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild an 8 out of 10. It is a solid B effort. I think, in all honesty, it's more of an A effort to a lot of people. I mean, my buddy Alex the Shadow Blazer is a Zelda fan now because of Breath of the Wild. So can I say that that's an A effort? Absolutely. It's just, in my case, in what I want from a Zelda game, it's more of a B effort. So that's my viewpoint, and that's going to go ahead and do it for this video. Whether or not you like or dislike what I've said, leave your comments below. Let's have a discussion about that, because I actually do encourage that we all do that. That's how we make Zelda better. And thank you guys so much for watching, for leaving a comment, for liking, commenting, subscribing. Thank you so much to the community that's come around this channel. I cannot begin to thank you guys enough. And of course, I will see you guys next time for the next review.